I'm tired of always having to pay for the whole family, so I haven't been going to family meetings. Our hard work finally paid off when my partner and I moved into the house that would become our new home. We had been saving, planning, and budgeting for years to buy this beautiful 3-bedroom home with a huge kitchen, a huge living room, and a backyard that went on forever. It was the kind of place where people wanted to share life, fun, and experiences. Today is the day we finally get to hold the event, bring our families together, and maybe even start some new traditions. We don't have any children right now and don't plan to have any in the future. We didn't have to, we were free to make our house fit the way we wanted to live. I used to work as a bartender and I've always liked having people over. For some reason, making the perfect meal or drink or getting people together makes me happy. So, when Thanksgiving came around last year, it made sense for me to offer to be the host. I wanted our first big holiday in our new home to be one to remember. I imagined our family gathered around the table, the house filled with the smell of freshly baked pies and roast turkey, and the sound of laughter and glasses breaking reverberating through the halls. I was determined to make my perfect dream come true. At last, the day. They came and made our house feel like a warm and friendly haven. A lot was going on in the kitchen at once, and I had to carefully time everything to finish in time for dinner. The living room was set up nicely for sitting, and I even made a small bar where I could serve drinks to our guests. We used our nicest china to set the table, and I picked out a beautiful bouquet of fall flowers to be the centerpiece. As they got closer, I could feel our family getting more excited. They were amazed by the house and thanked us for making it very special for them. As easily as the compliments came, so did the wine and cocktails, and I felt like I was back as a bartender, making drinks with style and meeting everyone's needs. The food was great, and the talk at dinner was lively. Stories. Words were spoken, and laughter could be heard. There was also a strong sense of community, which is something that makes holidays like Thanksgiving so special. When the last of our guests went and the house was quiet at the end of the evening, I was really happy. Being the host for Thanksgiving was even better than I had hoped. It was worthwhile to put in a lot of work when I saw everyone's smiles and knew I had made an important event for my family. Yes, I was worn out. It was a good kind of tiredness, though the kind that comes from getting things done. But as the weeks turned into months, I understood that Thanksgiving was now just another day. My family thought that since Christmas was coming up, we should host once more. In the end, our house was the best place for meetings, and we had proven that we could handle it. First Christmas was just another chance to get everyone together, and I didn't mind because I was still feeling good about having Thanksgiving, so we went right back to making plans. It wasn't quite as fancy at Thanksgiving as it was at Christmas. It was time to prepare the tree, buy and wrap gifts, and plan an even bigger feast. Over the course of several days, I made candy, cookies, and a feast that would have made Santa blush. A Christmas Eve dinner and a Christmas Day brunch filled our home with the warmth and joy of the season. Breakfast on Christmas Day. Things started to change after Christmas, though. My mom's birthday was in February, and once again, our house was the place of choice. I thought about it for a moment this time. After being in charge of 2 big holidays in a row, I was starting to feel stressed. I pushed those feelings aside, though, and focused on planning her birthday party. There was a lot of work that went into cooking, cleaning, and arranging for the small party. I was totally worn out by the end of her birthday party. As the year went on, it became clear that our house had become the usual spot for all family get-togethers. We enjoyed every holiday, birthday, and family get-together at our house, like Easter, Memorial Day, and the 4th of July. And the work got harder with each get-together. It was hard on the finances and took a lot of time and work to plan, organize, and clean up after these events. Hosting it cost a lot of money. We couldn't handle the mess on our own, so we spent hundreds or even thousands of dollars on food, drinks, decorations, and then hired people to clean up afterward. Yes, family members did help out sometimes, but my partner and I always had to do most of the work. I was also always on the go, making sure everything went smoothly while everyone else could relax and enjoy the events. I was the one who got up early to start getting ready, and the last person to go to bed when the house was finally quiet and the last dish was washed. While my partner helped out where he could, I could tell he was feeling the stress as well. These things kept us busy on the weekends, so we didn't have much time to relax, spend time alone, or do our favorite things. It became very hard for us to pay our bills. Even though we both make good money, there's no way we want to spend a lot of our earnings on hosting. Everyone has their own goals, and we all save for retirement. With all of these get-togethers, trips, and maybe even starting a small side business costing so much, it felt like our money was running out. But it was more than that. The time. We could have spent time together traveling, trying new things, or just relaxing at home on the weekend instead of going to family gatherings all the time. This year, straw showed up as Thanksgiving got closer. I could still remember how excited, happy, and satisfied I was during the Christmas season the year before. On the other hand, I was very afraid of hosting this time instead of excited. I was no longer able to keep going this way. It wasn't worth it to think about planning, cooking, and cleaning for weeks only to have yet another family get-together make our house a mess. After some thought, I chose to talk to them about it one Sunday afternoon, during a family video chat. We made it a habit to check in once a week to talk about life and make plans for the next week. There were laughs from my mom, my brothers, and a few friends, chatting while we talked about the details of Thanksgiving. "So I guess we'll be back at your house?" In a friendly and playful way, my mom asked, as if it were clear. I took a big breath in and got ready for what was going to happen. My voice was shaking a little as I said, "Actually, I wanted to talk to you all about that we've had a lot of get-togethers this year for holidays like Christmas, Thanksgiving, Mom's birthday, Easter, Memorial Day, and July 4th. We're starting to feel a little overloaded, even though having everyone over has been great." My words hung in the air for a while, and there was a brief silence on the other end of the line. As they thought about what I said, I could see the puzzled looks on their faces and the small furrows in their brows. "What do you mean?" When my mom did ask, her voice had a hint of confusion in it. When I told them how much work it was to plan all of these events, I tried to be fair and cool. All of the planning, cooking, and cleaning is starting to wear us down. Plus, it costs a lot of money. A lot of money is going into decorations, food, and drinks. We can't handle it all by ourselves, so we need to pay cleaners afterward. When I stopped, I hoped they would understand and see things my way. But all I got was laughter, no understanding or sympathy. "I guess you're joking?" My brother laughed and shook his head. "You have the biggest house of all of us. It's great for a trip with the family. What's wrong with a little work?" "Yes, and you're really good at it." My cousin added her voice with a smile. "Things always go well when you host. It makes everyone happy." It broke my heart. They didn't put much stock in me. They thought I was making things sound worse than they really were. When I looked at my partner, he or she nodded, which made me feel like I should stand my ground. I said again, "It's not just a little work. It takes a lot of work." My voice got rough. Making it happen takes time and work, and it costs money. It's costing us hundreds or even thousands of dollars to have these get-togethers. We love having you here, but we need to take a break. It's just too very much to keep doing this every birthday and vacation. There was that awkward silence all over again. It looked like they didn't understand why I was bringing this up because their faces changed from puzzled to annoyed. Finally, my mom spoke up. She made her voice more sad and less happy. "Hey, honey, I know it's hard, but we're family. We help each other out. You and your partner don't have any kids, so it's also easier for you. You know, the rest of us have our own problems." I got angry for a short time when she said those things. Even though we don't have kids, our time and work were still very important. That didn't mean we could automatically host every event. I did know where this was going, though. The way our lives were set up made us the perfect hosts, and my family wasn't going to quickly change their minds. I did my best to stay calm as I added, "We don't have to keep working alone just because I know everyone has their own challenges. I think we should switch who hosts because of this. This way, no one has to carry the whole load by themselves. Instead, everyone shares it. If it's too hard or not possible, you can rent a place for us to meet up or go to a restaurant. This way, we can stay together without putting too much stress on one family." They rolled their eyes at me. "We all know that it's easy where you are. You have the kitchen, the space, and the way things are set up. Does it make sense to make things too hard?" My cousin did say, "Eating out isn't the same. It doesn't feel the same. Know what I mean? It's not as personal." It felt like I was hitting my head against a wall. No matter how hard I tried to explain it, they wouldn't see things my way. If I tried to change that, it seemed like they already thought I was in charge of hosting, and that I was just being picky. Things were very tense after that conversation. No matter how hard I tried to explain how busy we were, my family made it clear that they didn't want to change who welcomed. It looks like they still didn't know how much work went into planning every holiday and big event. I knew my partner felt the same way, and both my mind and heart were worn out. I knew they weren't going to give up on this after all that, though. Like a dark cloud in the sky. The assumption that we didn't say anything about hung heavy and thick over us. After a few days, I finally got the proof I was waiting for. A group text from my mom said that our house will be the next holiday party, and it will be for Thanksgiving. My heart sank as I read the message because it made me feel a mix of sadness and anger. "We've all talked about it," the message said, "and we think it's best to keep having Thanksgiving at your house. I promise that we'll all do more this time. We can't wait to spend time with each other." They did more than they should have. The words hurt. Even though we didn't agree, I felt like my family didn't care about what I had to say. I didn't mean I didn't want to be with them. It looked like my limits and fears were not taken into account, and they were only seen as a small bothersomeness. When I gave the message to my partner, she read it with a frown. He said what everyone else knew, "They're not listening, I know." I said, leaning back on the couch next to him. "I can't do anything else. They are sure that we should be the guests by default since we don't have kids. They do things like, even though the time and work we put in aren't as important." He put his arm around me and pulled me in. He told us to say no and turn it down completely. I thought about it, but I knew that would make things worse and cause more stress and tension. Because they were stubborn, my family wasn't going to give up. A part of me was also afraid about what would happen. What if they were really mad at me? And what if it made our relationship worse? After some time, I had a better idea and said, "I think I have a better idea. Okay, so they want to spend Thanksgiving at our house, but I'm not going to make any food. If they want to use our house, they can take care of everything else on their own." That raised eyebrow showed that he was interested. "They will definitely not like it." "Sure," I said, my resolve growing inside my chest. "They need to understand that having a big house is not enough to make people happy. They might finally understand if they know what it's like to show up unprepared." That was the plan, then. I would host Thanksgiving, but I wouldn't cook this year, not making the food, cleaning, or setting the table. Even though it was risky, I thought it was the only way to get my point across. They thought hosting was easy, but I had to show them that it was harder than they thought. In the days before Thanksgiving, there was an odd mix of stress and excitement. I kept getting texts from my family jokingly asking if I had planned the food or wanted help with something. I always tried to avoid answering their questions by giving vague or unclear answers. There was no doubt that they thought everything would go as usual, a fancy meal in a nicely decorated house. Everything that made our get-togethers more special. But I wouldn't give in. I didn't want to go back to the old ways of doing things. This year they were going to learn what it's like to not appreciate things. I didn't feel as scared on Thanksgiving morning as I usually do. It had been years since I had felt that way. There wasn't a mad rush to get the turkey in the oven or make the sides. And there's no need to make the table look perfect. For some reason I felt at ease. I was going to do nothing because I knew I had already done what I said I would do. The morning was peaceful, and my boyfriend and I just hung out around the house. We made ourselves a quick breakfast, watched TV, and even went for a walk. It was almost like getting a sneak peek at what a quiet holiday might be like. By the early afternoon, when my family started to show up, I could see the shock on their faces. They came in. They were looking forward to the warm and comforting smells of Thanksgiving dinner, but what they found were nothing. There wasn't a single dish in sight, and the kitchen and dining room tables were both empty. "Where is the food?" my brother asked with a look around as if he had missed something very clear. I just shrugged at him and didn't do anything. It was clear he was waiting for the joke as. He looked at me. "In what way do you mean that nothing was made? It's almost Thanksgiving." I know I said in a tone that was as fair as it could be. I did say I needed some time off, though. That is, I did not cook. Everyone in my family saw what was going on as they looked around. My mom looked especially upset. Her eyes were moving around the room as if she was trying to figure out what went so wrong. Her voice was filled with doubt. "You didn't make anything." I said nope and shook my head. I said what I meant to. "You can all use our house if you want to. I'm not going to cook this year, though." Did I not say I needed a break? They were shocked and quiet for a moment as they thought about what I had said. My brother. My cousin and I looked at each other, and I could tell that he was getting more and more annoyed. "Then what should we do?" the man asked, his voice getting more irritated. "We don't even have food. What should you do to celebrate Thanksgiving?" I could feel the stress rising in the room, but I wasn't going to give up. I crossed my arms and said, "Not sure. I'm sure you'll find a way to solve the problem, though. Across the way is a food store where you can get things you need, or you could order taking out. Choose the one that works best for you." There were signs that my mom was going to cry. It was clear that the situation overtook me. The woman shook her head and said, "I can't believe this. That's not who you are. You have always been the one who brought us all together." Her words made me feel bad, but I didn't pay attention to them. I knew that. If I gave up now, nothing would change. I had to tell my family that they couldn't keep expecting me to take all the blame without considering how it would make me feel. My voice was getting a little weak. I wanted everyone to know what it's like when I don't have to take care of everything. It was awkward for a long time while my family thought about what I had said. The last thing my brother did was sigh in frustration. "Okay," he said, clearly angry. "Please get some food. Things will work out." Following a rough hour, my cousins squished into their cars and drove to the grocery store. They came back quickly with grilled chickens, bags of ready-to-eat foods, and anything else they could get, even though it was far. It wasn't as fancy as our usual spread, but it was better than nothing. As I stood there and watched them rush to get things together, I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. It made me feel better to have finally made a choice. I felt terrible that I had put them in my shoes, but I also felt like I had lost something important. Because this wasn't the Thanksgiving I had planned or the time I had planned to spend with my family. Finally, everything was ready, and we all sat down to eat. There was a lot of tension and anger in the air that no one could say. The dish was fine, but it lacked the comfort and attention to detail that make our meal special. My family ate in a pretty quiet way, as if they were still thinking about what had happened the day before. As we cleaned up after dinner, my mom called me over. She looked tired, and her face showed a mix of sadness and worry. She said sorry in a soft voice. I didn't know we were putting so much stress on you. We not long ago. Things are used to you taking care of everything. I guess we just took it for granted. When she said those things, I felt a knot in my throat, but I kept my cool. It was hard for me to keep working by myself, so I said, I know, Mom. She said, we'll figure something out for next time, and she nodded. Her eyes were sad and understanding. I needed all of you to see that she said next. Everyone had a really hard time with it. But I hope you won't do that again next time. Next time we need to have a real talk about how we're going to run these meetings, I said. We all have a duty to share if we want to keep going. I won't be hosting again if we don't have a good time. Not like this. She looked at me for a long time, as if she was looking for something in my face. She finally let out a sigh and gave a small nod. Okay, she said in a low voice. We are going to talk about it. While we were cleaning up and everyone was leaving, I felt a strange sense of relief come over me. It wasn't the best answer possible. It was a start, though. Because we were welcoming, my family had to face the truth about what it means. They hadn't fully agreed with me yet. But I knew I had made my point. The next few weeks were tense in a strange way. There was no doubt that my family was still trying to make sense of what had happened and figure out how to move on. There were a few messages here and there that were vague offers to host future meetings or ideas for meeting in a neutral place. It wasn't great. But it was a step forward. As the next holiday got closer, I got ready for the talk that was bound to happen. I was aware that my family would be looking to me for answers and direction on what to do next, but I was ready. I learned that sometimes you had to be strong and stand your ground, even if it meant letting down the people you care about. As soon as the text message asked what my holiday plans were, I took a deep breath and said, let's talk. We need to work together to make a new plan. So now I'm stuck between wanting to make my family happy and wanting to look out for my own health. I enough for no longer wanting to host family meetings. It's hard to be in this situation because I wanted to share the work and get back our time and space. I never thought it would come to this.